Hello, good evening, dear students. Welcome to our English class. The reason why we had this video lesson, because I want this to be personal, because if you will notice, for for the last few weeks, we had a lot of disturbance of classes, right? So there is the class suspension due to inclement weather, which is typhoons. There are a lot of classroom disturbances because we have to perform different activities, extracurricular activities. Okay, so that is why we had to skip several meetings, but in order for me to cope up with our skip lesson. So that is why I have particularly arranged this specifically for you. So all you have to do is to sit back, relax, and listen to me as I discuss to you the remainder of our topics in English, which is what we call as the literary devices. So when we say literary devices, so these are tools that writers use to express their ideas with artistic depths. So whenever we talk about literature, there are two languages that you have to remember. So the first one is what you call as the literal language, and the other one is what you call as the figurative language. So when we talk about literal language, these are languages or sentences or words, expressions that means literally. For example, the dog barks. So if that is a literal language, the dog barks, so we are pertaining to those kinds of we're talking about it literally. The dog just barks. So that is why literal language. We have another kind which is what we call as figurative language. So when we say figurative language, these are sentences or expressions that has another meaning. Ever heard of the word read between the lines? So there is another meaning on those particular words. So that is where literary devices comes into. So these are tools that the writers use to express their ideas with artistic depths. So these devices can clarify and emphasize concepts. Okay? These are used to create resonance within a narrative and to invite the readers to dig a little deeper into the story's theme. So as I have said a while ago, you have to read between the lines in order for you to get the meaning of the words or the expression that are being used by the author. Okay? And as we all know, when we talk about literary devices, so we have eight basic types of literary devices. So we're pertaining to simile, metaphor, hyperbole, personification. We also have onomatopoeia, alliteration, assonance, and anaphora. So we have eight literary devices that we're going to discuss for today. Okay? So the first one is what you call a simile. Okay, so when we say simile, this is an expression comparing one thing to another using the words like or as. So always remember, simile is a literary device that is used to compare two objects, two things, or two persons. And in the comparison of these two objects, we use the words like or as. So whenever you see a certain sentence or expression that compares two things with the use of like or as, this is what you call as simile. To give you an example, okay, so he ran like a cat. So in the first sentence, there are two things that are being compared. So the first object or the first person that we are talking about, or the person that we are talking about, is being compared to a cat. And if you will notice, we use the word like. So that is why the first sentence is considered simile. Why? Because there is comparison. He is compared to a cat with the use of the word like. So that is simile. Another sentence is she is sweet as a candy. Again, so we are comparing two things in this particular sentence. The person that we are talking about is being compared to a candy. And if you will notice, we use the word as. So that is why this is also considered simile. So always remember, my dear students, so when we compare two objects, two persons, two things with the use of like or as, that is what you call as simile. The next one is what you call as metaphor. Okay, so metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things, just like in simile. But the difference is that we do not use the words like or as in metaphor. In simile, we compare two unlike objects, two unlike things, two unlike persons with the use of like or as. But in metaphor, we don't. So to give you an example, he was a statue waiting to hear the news. So we are comparing he, the person that we are talking about, to a statue. But did you notice that we use the word like or as in this particular sentence? No, right? So that is why this is considered a metaphor. So we are comparing two unlike objects without the use of like or as. Okay? Another example is she is a big baby that cry easily. So again, there are two things that are being compared in this sentence. So she, the person that we are talking about, is being compared to a big baby. But did you notice that we use the word like or as? So the answer is no, right? That is why this is also considered a metaphor. Okay, again, always remember, if we compare two unlike things, two unlike objects, two unlike person with the use of like or as, that is what we call as simile. But if we did not use those words, that is considered a metaphor. Okay, did you understand? Moving on, we also have this what you call as hyperbole. Okay, so when we say hyperbole, this is an obvious exaggeration or overstatement. Okay? So when we say exaggeration, that is an exclamation that you can do anything about it. Okay? You tend to make small things bigger. Okay? So to give you an example of hyperbole, so the first one is I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. Question, have you seen a starved man? Have you seen a hungry person? Is it possible for that person to eat a whole horse even if he is hungry? The answer is no. This is an exaggeration. That is why this is called hyperbole. Whenever we see exaggeration of all costs, we consider it as hyperbole. Another example is my mother will kill me if I fail this exam. Do you remember I told you about literal language and figurative language? So there is a big difference, right? Does it mean that when you see this particular sentence, I'm pertaining to the literal meaning? Will your mother kill you literally if you will fail the second periodical exam? The answer is no, because this is only an exaggeration, an overstatement. That is why it is called hyperbole. So you tend to make small things bigger than it seems. Okay? So the next one is what you call as personification. So personification is when a writer gives human qualities to animals or objects. So in personification, we give human qualities, attributes, characteristic to a particular inanimate object or what we call as non-living things. Or we let the animals talk. So that is what we call as personification, as if they are humans. Okay, from the word itself, first personifications. You are personifying or you are giving human qualities to animals and objects. Okay, so for example, my car drank the gasoline in one gulp. Question. Is a car a human being that it can drink gasoline? The answer is no. A car is considered a non-living thing. Okay? And we only use the word drank there in order to personify the car because we wanted to give the car a non-living thing, okay, a human attribute because only humans can drink. Okay? And you can say in your within yourselves, sir, drinking is for animals also. Oh, let me give you an example. The cat laugh. Question, can you hear a cat laugh? Isn't laughing an attribute or a characteristic that is personal to humans only. Okay, so that is why this is an example also of personification. You are giving human qualities, human characteristics, or human attributes to a cat, which is an animal. Okay, so that is why it is called personification. Okay, another one is what you call as onomatopoeia. So when we say onomatopoeia, this is a word that imitates the sound it represents. So the sound words or the words that is used to imitate sounds, we can consider it as onomatopoeia. So to give you an example, Anna listens to the tick tock of the clock inside her room. Question: What does the clock, what sound does the clock make? So it sounds like TikTok. So that is why the writer of this sentence thought that it would be better if we will use the sound words. So that is why this is called onomatopoeia. Again, when we use the sound, when we use words that are used to signify a sound of an object, that is what you call as onomatopoeia. Another example is, I can feel the whoosh of the cold wind on my skin. So I have personally underlined the word whoosh. So the word whoosh is used to signify a strong wind. Okay? So that is why this is also called onomatopoeia. Because if you will to hear the sound of a rushing wind, okay? So we use the word whoosh. Again, whenever we use words that are used to signify the sound that it creates, that is what you call as onomatopoeia. The next one is what you call as alliteration. I will say alliteration. So alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound in words occurring near one another. Okay, so when we say repetition, we repeat certain words or letters in a particular statement. And in the English alphabet, there are two kinds of letters, right? We have this what you call as the consonants, and the other one is the vowels. So when we say vowels, we're pertaining to the letters A, E, I, O, U. Okay? And the rest of the letters B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, and the rest, we call them as consonants. So in alliteration, there is a repetition of the same consonant sound in words occurring near one another. So to give you an example of alliteration, one of the best examples of alliteration out there are what we call as tongue twisters. To give you an example, this one. She sells seashells by the seashore. So if you will notice, there is a repetition of what letter sound or sound of a particular letter, a consonant, which is the letter S. She sells seashells by the seashore. So there is a prevalence and a repetition of the sound of S. That is why we can consider this an alliteration, because there is a repetition of the same consonant letter sound. Okay? Another example is Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So if you will notice, there is a repetition of the sound of the letter P. Letter P is a consonant. That is why this is also considered an alliteration, because alliteration pertains to those repetition of the same consonant sounds. Okay? So another one is what you call as assonance. So if in alliteration, there is a repetition of the same consonant sounds, in assonance, this is similar also to alliteration, but it involves the repetition of vowel sounds. So, particular the sound of A, E, I, O, and U. So, to give you an example, the rain in Spain falls mainly in the plains. So, in this particular sentence, okay, so the sound of A is prevalent, particularly the long A. Rain, Spain, mainly, plain. So that is why this is considered assonance. Okay? The next one is Mike's bike has white bright stripes. So in this particular sentence, by the way, there is a repetition of the sound of the letter I or the short I. Mike, bike, white, bright, stripes. So if there is a repetition of the same vowel sounds, we can consider this as assonance. See the difference between alliteration and assonance? In alliteration, there is a repetition of consonant sounds. Where in assonance, there is a repetition of vowel sounds. Okay, and lastly, we have this what you call as anaphora. Everyone say anaphora. So anaphora is the deliberate repetition, just like alliteration and assonance. But the ones that are being repeated in anaphora is what? The statement, the first of the statement, in order to achieve an artistic effect. So in poems, in songs, we see several examples wherein they repeat some words. So that's what we call as anaphora. So in alliteration and assonance, we are pertaining to the sound of the letters. But in anaphora, there is a repetition of words. Example, yes, I know. My love, I know. So there is a statement that is being repeated. That is why this is considered anaphora, because there is a repetition of the same words or statements. So another one is every day, every night, I am getting better and better. So I have underlined the word every and the word better and better. So there is a repetition of the same words, right? So that is why this is called anaphora. So if there is a repetition of sounds, we call it as anaphora. If there is a repetition of consonant sounds, we have alliteration. If there is a repetition of vowel sounds, we call it assonance. So, do you understand our lesson for tonight? So, I hope that you have learned something from me, and I pray that you will do well in your second periodical test. If you have questions regarding the test, okay, regarding the pointers, you may please send me a personal message through my messenger account. So I think that's all. Goodbye, my dear students, and see you on Monday.